All right, Ms. Haller, are you able to hear me okay? Ms. Haller, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Trush, are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, Your Honor, I am.
All right. So we'll go on the record. This is People versus Jenny Marlene Haller. This is case number 214851. The record should reflect Ms. Haller's present today by video from Crawford County Jail. We have Mr. McFelda present on behalf of probation and Mr. Trush here on behalf of Ms. Haller for purposes of arraignment today. Ms. Haller, you're before the court today for arraignment on one alleged probation violation. Do you understand why you're before the court today?
I do.
Okay. A couple of things I need to go through with you with regard to your rights as it relates to this probation violation. First of all, you do have the right to have a hearing as to whether or not you violated your probation as alleged. Because this is a technical probation violation, you can also admit responsibility for the violation here today, the maximum sentence that you could receive. Mr. McFelda, is this a first technical?
Judge, when this was filed, it was a technical, but being this is well over 60 days at this point, it would fall into the non-technical category.
Okay, so Ms. Haller, because this would be a non-technical probation violation, that means that you would be subject to the maximum possible penalty on your underlying charge, which is up to 4 years. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Again, you do have the right to have a hearing as to whether or not you violated your probation as alleged. You also have the right to have an attorney present and any subsequent proceedings. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you at public expense. Again, Mr. Trush is here on your behalf here today for purposes of arraignment. So to the extent that you would need to consult with him, you would be able to do that during today's hearing if you needed to. Do you understand all those things that I've stated to you?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Trush, have you had a chance to speak with Ms. Haller before the hearing today?
I did, Your Honor, and subsequently I spoke to Mr. McFalda. If it would be possible for me to have 1 minute with Ms. Haller, there's just one minor difference from what I discussed with her that I want to make sure she's aware of. But generally, I think that we do have a resolution for the court today.
Okay, I will put you both in a breakout room here. So the record should reflect Ms. Koch, prosecutor is joining the hearing. Ms. Koch, the defendant and her attorney are in a breakout room. The court's simply advised Ms. Haller of her rights with regard to the probation violation, and we're waiting to find out how she wants to proceed after the breakout room.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back. Ms. Holler, have you had a chance to adequate opportunity to speak with Mr. Trush?
I did. Thank you.
Okay, looks like we got everybody back as well. So Mr. Trush, how did we want to proceed today?
Thank you, Your Honor. I appreciate that breakout room. When I talked to Mr. McFalda, there were some pieces of the underlying sentencing that I wasn't aware of that I wanted to make sure Ms. Holler understood. Because I think they're likely outcomes of her admission today. So she would be making an admission to the absconding, which I believe is count one. Technically on the probation violation report, it listed as a non-technical or a technical, but because of the time period, I do believe Mr. McFalda is correct. It would be a technical violation at this point. Or I'm sorry, a non-technical violation at this point.
Okay, so she's going to admit to the absconding. Is there any, are we going to proceed to sentencing today, or are we going to set that for a separate day?
So, Your Honor, I think Mr. McFalda is prepared to make a recommendation, and I believe he's going to recommend discharge, that the referral be revoked, or the deferral be revoked, and that the 30 days held in abeyance be imposed.
Okay, Mr. McFalda, is that correct?
Yes, Judge. At original sentencing, you issued 30 days jail credit for 5, and then you held that jail in advance due to the ongoing issues with Ms. Haller reporting and violating her probation. I would ask that she be discharged unsuccessfully, 7411 be revoked, and that 30 days jail be imposed. I guess it would be 6 days credit now, since she was picked up yesterday.
All right, Ms. Haller, were you able to hear all of that?
I did. I was brought in Wednesday night. But yes, I did hear it all.
Okay.
I guess that'd be
All right.
7 days.
7 days, okay. So Ms. Haller, with all of that information in mind, did you want to plead guilty to the absconding today?
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You can lower your hand. Ms. Haller, you understand that by pleading guilty today, you're going to be giving up the right to have that hearing regarding the violation?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you understand, although Mr. McFalda has indicated what his recommendation is, and I'm likely to follow that, you understand that by pleading guilty, you're going to subject yourself to the maximum possible penalty on your underlying charge, which is 4 years.
Yes, Your Honor.
And with those things in mind, it's still your option to plead guilty today.
Yes, Your Honor.
Has anyone threatened you with anything to get you to do that?
No, Your Honor.
Has anybody promised you anything other than what we said here today on the record?
No, sir.
Is it your own free choice to plead guilty to this violation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Are you pleading guilty because you did violate your probation?
I am pleading guilty because I did violate it.
Okay. So on or about November 20th of 2023, were you on probation here in Crawford County?
I was.
And were you aware that one of the conditions of your probation was that you were to appear at all court hearings or as required by your probation agent?
I was. I am.
And did you fail to appear for that hearing on November 20th?
I did.
Okay, the court finds that your plea is knowing, voluntary, and accurate. The court is satisfied there's a factual basis to support a finding that you did violate your probation as alleged. Court will accept a guilty plea. Mr. McFalda or Ms. Koch, was there anything else that either of you wanted to say regarding sentencing other than what you've already indicated for the record?
No, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Trush, anything on behalf of Ms. Holler?
Just briefly, Your Honor, I would indicate, this is a 2021 case. I think Ms. Haller has had periods of substantial compliance. She's also had some pretty significant periods of instability where she's had housing issues and employment issues. So she reports to me that the probation was actually extended because she still had fines and costs to pay. I don't know if that's accurate, but I'd ask the court to take into consideration again, the housing instability she had. She's been homeless for long periods of time. Well, that's not an excuse not to report. I do think it does offer some explanation as to some of that. And I would suggest to the court that obviously the loss of the 7411 deferral, in my mind, is a pretty significant penalty. I'd ask the court to consider imposing less than the 30 days of advance in the jail. Again, just because of how significant of a benefit or loss that is to not have that deferred. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Haller, anything that you wanted to say today?
I'm sorry. Is all. I'm sorry I didn't do what I was supposed to. I've had a rough time, and I apologize for wasting time and money, and I really am sorry.
Thank you. I had a chance to review the file prior to today's hearing, so I'm familiar with the underlying charges as well as the history of the case. And taking all of that into account, along with what all parties had to say here on the record today, I think the sentence recommendation is reasonable. It doesn't really call for any additional time. It just requires, again, Ms. Haller, that you serve the time that the court has really already imposed, but simply held in abeyance. So the court isn't adding to your sentence. It's only going to require that you serve a sentence that I previously gave you an opportunity to avoid having to serve. And I think that will be an adequate consequence here, along with the loss of the deferral, which I think Mr. Trush is correct, that has a significant impact going forward. So I find the sentence recommendation reasonable, and the court is going to follow that. So the court is going to discharge you unsuccessfully from the probation. The court is going to revoke the deferred status. The court is going to order that you serve 30 days in the Crawford County Jail with credit for 7 days served. Again, that's not over and above the previous sentence. That's only serving the sentence that was held in abeyance. Again, with 7 days credit, the court is going to preserve any outstanding fines and costs. You do have the ability to seek an appeal of this sentence. If you wanted to try to appeal this, Ms. Haller, you would need to file the appropriate paperwork within the next 42 days. The court will provide you with forms that explain to you what your appellate rights are in more detail, as well as how to request a court-appointed attorney. Mr. Trush or Ms. Cope, do you have anything further to say? Or I'm sorry, Mr. McFalda or Ms. Cope?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
No, Judge.
Judge, I will take a judgment to you and provide her appellate rights to the jail as well.
Okay, if you can email that to me, Jennifer's out of the office today, so email would be the best way for me to get that back.
Absolutely, thank you.
Right, thank you. That's all for today. All parties are free to disconnect.